If you never met a woman who behaves as if she was born inside a photo filter, then you are about to meet one now by name Melissa Adams. She was 29 years old, single, working in Lagos as an HR officer and living a life that looked soft on Instagram but had inside her account balance. Every Monday morning she would post motivational quotes like "My week must obey me and soft life is my birthright." But in real life she was shouting at her mirror because her makeup sponge had gone missing again. Melissa was beautiful, tall and dramatic in the way Nigerian women who lived in Lagos can be. Her room was a museum of wigs, perfumes, and clothes she bought on credits. She loved saying things like, "A woman must maintain packaging even if her account was crying." Her mother, Mama Melissa, used to tell her on the phone, "My daughter, stop competing with people that are using their father's money. Remember, you are using your destiny." But Melissa would laugh and say, "Mommy, you don't understand this generation. Image is everything." Her daily routine was full of drama. She would wake up at 5:30 a.m., pray loudly for prosperity, and then complain that God was answering other people's prayers faster. After that, she would spend 1 hour choosing what to wear because, as she always said, you never know who will see you today. Your destiny helper might be at the bus stop. Then she would spray half a bottle of perfume, snap mirror selfies, and add captions like, "Ready to conquer the week." Even though her light bill had just come, Melissa's best friend and roommate Patricia had already given up trying to advise her. That morning, as Melissa stood in front of the mirror applying her third layer of foundation, Patricia sighed and said, "Melissa, you know your salary is not up to your perfume." Melissa laughed. "Babe, stop now. Don't limit me. I serve a living God." Patricia rolled her eyes. "Yes, but even God will tell you to budget." Melissa waved her hand. "Budget is for people without vision. My own vision is clear. Sucks life on nothing." When she got to work, her co-workers knew she had arrived before she even entered the office because her perfume used to announce her like the sound of offering bell in church. She would walk in swinging her hips and pretending to be on an important call. "Yes, tell the driver to wait. I'll be done soon," she would say, even though the only person waiting for her was the office cleaner who needed her to move her chair. One of her colleagues secretly liked her, and he would always watch her with amusement. His name was Martin, and ironically he was the type who wore the same brown shoes every week but somehow always looked clean. That morning as Melissa entered the office carrying her designer bag that looked expensive, Martin smiled and said, "Good morning, Melissa. How is life in paradise?" Melissa tossed her hair dramatically. "Paradise is stressful, Martin. So many angels owe me money." Martin laughed. "You are not serious, Melissa. I hope your landlord hasn't called this week." Melissa frowned playfully. "Why are you always attacking me? I am a responsible tenant." Martin grinned. "That is not what your generator said last night when it refused to start." Melissa gasped. "Wait, you know about it?" Martin nodded. "Yes, I happened to hear your phone conversation just now as I was minding my business." Everyone in the office burst into laughter. Melissa hissed but laughed too. "Leave me, Jay. Even machines need motivation sometimes." Now that evening she got ready to attend a friend's birthday party at one fancy restaurant in Victoria Island. Of course, she had already told Patricia, "Babe, this dinner must see Pepe. I will slay till the cheers confess." But she had a small problem. She had only 4,500 naira left in her account. Patricia asked, "So, how will you pay for your food in case the need arises?" Melissa smiled proudly. "Don't worry. One of those fine boys will pay for me. I am God's favorite child." So she borrowed Patricia's bag, used her last perfume, and convinced her neighbor to drop her at the restaurant so she could arrive like a boss. Inside the restaurant, she greeted everyone loudly. "Ah, see, my people, you didn't tell me the light here is fine." No. She sat down at the front, took 10 selfies, adjusted her dress every 55 minutes, and made sure the waiter knew she was the prettiest person in the building. When it was time to order food, she looked at the menu and almost fainted. 17,500 naira for small fish. Is it swimming in gold? She whispered. The waiter smiled politely. "Ma, it's grilled salmon." Melissa smiled back. "Okay, just bring one small portion for picture's sake." After the meal, when the waiter brought the bill, everyone started checking their meals or pretending to scroll their phones. Melissa whispered to the birthday girl, "So, who is paying?" And the girl said, "Everyone is splitting the bill." Melissa's heart left her body immediately. She quickly pretended to be on a call. "Yes, Daddy, I'm coming. I'm coming." She stood up like someone going to the restroom, but her bag betrayed her. It slipped and fell open, exposing a receipt from Odogu Loan App. The table went silent for 2 seconds before someone laughed. "Melissa, you are using loan apps." Melissa forced a fake laughter. "Ah, that is an old receipt. Ja." However, after that night, she swore she would redeem her image by doing another photo shoot. The next weekend, to show the world that she was still fine and unbothered, she captioned the pictures, "Unshakable Queen Energy." Meanwhile, her landlord was waiting at home with his own caption, "Pay your rent or pack out." The next morning, after the pictures went live, as she was rushing to work, her mother called. "My daughter, I saw your pictures online. You look like you swallowed Dubai." Melissa laughed. "Mommy, we are trying small." "Small?" Her mother shook her head. "Melissa, my daughter, try and pay your rent before you post the next picture. Don't go and be fine outside and homeless inside." Melissa giggled. "Mommy, you worried too much." "Don't worry now." Her mother side-eyed. "One day this your social media life will humble you." Melissa smiled confidently. "Mommy, it can never be me. I am the one humbling social media." And that was how the Queen of Pepperdam continued. Because in Melissa's dictionary, life was not about having money. It was about looking like you had it successfully. Unfortunately, by the second week of the month, before 15th, Melissa's account balance had started sounding like silence. You know that stage when you open your banking app, and even the app is tired of you. That was where she was. Every morning she would still dress up like the daughter of Dangit's cousin. Even though her power bank was dead, her light bill was still unpaid and her gas finished 2 days ago. Patricia, her roommate, was officially tired. That morning, she found Melissa using her body spray again. "Melissa, how many times have I told you to stop using my perfume?" Melissa blinked innocently. "Patricia, love is about sharing." "No, you can't hold fragrance now." Patricia snapped. "I am not holding fragrance. I am holding my budget. Don't create unnecessary expenses for me now." Melissa laughed. "You are just stingy. Don't worry. When God blesses me, I will buy you a whole perfume shop." Patricia folded her arms. "But before that blessing, can you at least pay your part of the NEPA bill?" Melissa waved her head like a pastor casting out demons. "Patricia, don't let bills kill your Vibu. The God that paid last month's own, he will pay this month's own again." Patricia rolled her eyes. "Last month, I was the God who paid your NEPA bill." At work, things were not even better. The gossip circle in the office, led by one girl called Nicole, had started gossiping about Melissa's packaging. One afternoon said loudly, "Some people will use loan app to buy weak and then they will still act like CEO." Melissa looked up from her desk and smiled sweetly. "If you have something to say, just say it with your full chest." Smirked. "I am not talking to you." Melissa smiled wider. "Good, because I only reply to people on my level." The entire office burst into our sound like spectators in a boxing ring. Martin, who sat 2 desks away, shook his head. "Melissa, you like violence too much." Melissa smiled. "Why not? Peace is boring." Martin leaned forward. "Peace is also cheap. Remember?" Melissa hissed. "You and this your poverty gospel every time. I beg, leave me, Jerry." At lunch break, Melissa opened her food flask, which contained plain rice and stew without meat. Martin looked at it and teased. "Madam Petpum, where's the protein?" Melissa sighed dramatically. "See, my doctor advised me to avoid meat for now. It causes stress to my body." Martin groaned. "H, or maybe it causes debit alert." Melissa glared at him. "See, one day you'll become rich, and then this your poverty mentality will change." Martin nodded. "Yes, if I become rich, I will also buy you a calculator so you can count your debts properly." Later that week, Melissa received a text from her landlord. "Your rent grace period is over. Kindly pay up before Friday." She nearly fainted. She quickly called Patricia. "Patricia, please remind me to start fasting tomorrow." Patricia asked, "For what?" Melissa said dramatically, for divine rent intervention. Patricia sighed. Well, I already sent my own part of the rent, so I suggest you do that fasting alone. Don't involve me. Melissa's mother called her that evening. Melissa, have you paid your rent? Melissa laughed. Mommy, I am working on it. Don't worry, her mother said sharply. Melissa, walk faster. You are living in Lagos, not heaven. Landlords don't take prayer as currency. Melissa dropped the phone and hissed. Everybody thinks I am lazy. They don't just understand my struggle to release her stress. She went out that weekend with her friends to a new lounge called the Gold Spoon. The drinks there were high-priced like inheritance. When she saw the menu, she smiled through the pain and sighed, Father, Lord, give me grace to look rich even when I am broke. At the end of the night, she was forced to pay for a drink she didn't even order because one of her friends said, Let's split the bill equally. Melissa almost cried as she transferred her last 4,000 naira. Her bank app asked, Are you sure? She whispered. No, I am not, but let's just die in elegance. By the next morning, Melissa was officially broke. She couldn't even buy gala on her way to work. She told herself, It's fine. Salary will soon be here. I will start afresh next month. But deep down, she knew she needed an urgent miracle. Unfortunately, just when she thought things couldn't get worse, her boss walked into the office and said, Ladies and gentlemen, there's a slight issue. Salary will be delayed for 2 weeks. The whole office screamed while Melissa just froze like a mannequin. 2 weeks delay might not sound like a big deal to normal people, but to Melissa it was a national emergency. Now when her account balance was already in coma, she stared at her boss as if he had just announced fine. When the boss left, she turned to Patricia, who also worked in the same company, and whispered, Patricia, did you hear that? Patricia said, Yes, that is your cue to start learning fasting officially. Melissa gaps. Patricia, please play, please. My life is finished. Patricia patted her shoulder. You'll survive. Just reduce the way you shout soft life every morning. Melissa sighed deeply. I can't. It's already part of my brand. That week, everything around her crashed except for the loan apps on her phone, which were already sending her reminders. On Wednesday morning, as she was getting dressed for work, she saw a notification on her phone. Dear Melissa Adams, remember to pay your 15,000 naira loan before 12 p.m. to avoid embarrassment, but she ignored it and continued doing her makeup. 2 hours later, during a staff meeting, her phone started ringing loudly. She forgot to silence it, and the ID caller displayed ODOG loan recovery. Everyone turned to stare at her. The boss frowned. Miss Melissa, can you take that call outside? Melissa smiled awkwardly. It's not important, sir. However, the phone rang again, and this time it said, Final warning, Melissa Adams, we are watching you. The whole office burst into laughter. After the meeting, Nicole mocked. So this is what happens when packaging meets reality. Melissa hissed. At least my debt is fashionable. Martin laughed from his corner. Melissa, you are officially becoming a financial comedian. By evening, Melissa sat in her small apartment, eating Gary with granite and thinking of her life choices. The same girl who once said, I can never drink Gary unless it is imported, was not calculating how to ration sugar. She shook her head. God, this wasn't planned. Oh, her mother called again. Melissa, I had a dream that someone was chasing you. Melissa groaned. Yes, Mummy, it must be my landlord. Her mother sighed. Can you see your life? I told you to stop forming fine girl when you are not fine in the spirits. Then on Friday, the final blow came. The complaining accountant announced that even the delayed salary had been reduced because of budget cuts. Melissa literally cried. She went to meet Patricia immediately after work. Patricia, I can't do this anymore. I am tired. Patricia asked, So what's your plan? Melissa said maybe I'll just fake my debt and resurrect when the economy improves. Patricia laughed until tears came out. You are mad, Melissa. Melissa sighed dramatically. Madness is cheaper than rent. That night she sat on her bed and thought, maybe God is trying to humble me. Then she laughed. But he could have used a nicer method now. Well, by the time the salary delay reached its second week, Melissa's confidence had deflated like a balloon from Children's Day. Her wig glue had expired. Her nails were lifting like roof sheets in Hamatan, and her phone screen looked like it had seen war. Yet, every morning, she would still post grateful hearts no matter what on WhatsApp, even though she was clearly fighting invisible battles. One Friday evening, she sat on her bed with her legs crossed, staring at a bank app as if it would suddenly produce miracles. 2,167 naira. She muttered, "This is not even money again. It is an insult." Patricia was in the sitting room charging her phone with the only socket that still worked. When she overheard Melissa grumbling, she shouted loudly for her to hear. "Melissa, are you fasting or complaining?" Melissa sighed weakly. "Patricia, I don't even know what it is again." "Oh!" Patricia entered the room and folded her arms. "I told you this soft life competition will kill you." But Melissa shrugged. "I only wanted to look successful." "Patricia, is that a crime?" Patricia sat beside her and smiled. "It is not a crime, but you can't use struggle to form packaging." Melissa groaned. "I think my garden angel just went on break. I'll bounce back." Well, the next day, Patricia traveled, and that was when Melissa's humiliation started coming one by one. First, her gas finished while she was cooking beans. So, she carried the pot to her neighbor's kitchen, tying a wrapper and bonnet. The same neighbor she once brewed that she doesn't cook at home anymore. She only eats out. The neighbor looked at her pot and smiled. "Madam Choplife, welcome to our kitchen." No. Then her generator refused to start again. She called the repairman. But when he arrived and saw her outfit, he said, "Auntie, I beg, no veg. So may you be that same fine madam where they shout for this generator before." Melissa muttered, "Yes, I'm the one." The man nodded. "Ah, this life balance. So too don't touch you." When she finally got to the office on Monday, she tried to avoid Martin, but of course, he noticed her mood. "Melissa, why do you look like someone who saw Nepal light and still didn't smile?" Melissa sighed. "Martin, I am broke. Not just financially or emotionally, too." Martin smiled. "Welcome to the club." Melissa frowned. "Don't mock me, please." Martin shook his head. "I am not mocking you. I am just glad that you are finally ready to live like the rest of us mortals." That evening, Martin invited her to join him at a small outreach program organized by his church. It was about feeding underprivileged children. Melissa initially wanted to refuse. She was only used to polished restaurants, not sitting under canopies in dusty compounds. But something inside her said, "Go." Maybe it was boredom, or maybe it was just curiosity. She followed him the next Saturday, wearing a plain t-shirt and jeans she hadn't worn in months. At first, she tried to hide her discomfort, especially when they handed her a spoon to serve rice. "Me? Serve food?" she asked. Martin laughed. "Yes, Madam pepper them. You'll be fine." Soon the children started running barefoot and dusty, but smiling like the sun. One little girl said to her, "Auntie, I like your hair." Melissa smiled. "Thank you, my dear. It's old, but it's trying." The girl giggled. "You are beautiful." And for the first time in months, Melissa's heart melted in a real and genuine way. While they served food, one child accidentally bumped into her, and her phone dropped straight into the jollof pot. She screamed, "My phone! Jesus!" Everyone turned. Martin looked at her and burst into laughter. "Don't worry, Melissa," he said. "Now you have jollof-flavored ringtone." Melissa wanted to cry, but then she started laughing also. Loud and uncontrolled laughter that came from deep within her. She hadn't laughed like that in months. Later that evening, as they sat under the nearby tree resting, Martin looked at her and said, "You know, Melissa, this is the first time I have seen you laugh without trying to impress anyone." Melissa smiled. "Maybe I forgot how to be normal." Martin replied, "No, you just forgot that peace is louder than noise." Melissa stared at him thoughtfully. "You really enjoy preaching, Martin." Martin shrugged. "Only when the sermon is working." When Melissa went home that night, she didn't post anything online for the first time in a long while. She just lay on her bed, looked at her ceiling fan, and smiled. Peace feels nice, and it's even free. By the next month, Melissa had changed more than her neighbors could believe. She started carrying her natural hair more often, wearing simple clothes, and even cooking her meals instead of chasing restaurant menus like Destiny. When Patricia teased her, "Where's Madam Pep?" Then Melissa smiled and said, "She has retired. Her pension is peace." Her co-workers noticed a difference too. She no longer argued about fashion trends or borrowed money for brunch. Even Nicole, the office gossip, asked her one day, "Melissa, are you okay? You've been quiet lately." Melissa smiled. "Yes, Nicole. I realize silence doesn't need approval." Nicole blinked. "Wow, that is deep. I hope you're not sick." At lunch, Martin joined her as usual. She now enjoyed sitting with him, sharing jokes about the company and making fun of their boss's bald head. One afternoon, he looked at her and said, "You are glowing lately." Melissa smiled. "Maybe it's the beast I have been eating. I never knew poverty has skin care benefits." Martin shook his head. "No, I mean it. You look content and happy." Melissa smiled. "I think it's because I finally stopped competing." Martin grinned. "With who?" Melissa sighed. "Everybody, people online, my friends, my old self. I just want to breathe now." And then the unexpected happened. A few weeks later, the company held an internal audit, and Melissa's boss discovered how disciplined she had become. She had been showing up early, finishing reports, and even helping her team more. So during a staff meeting, the boss cleared his throat and said, "We are promoting Miss Melissa Adams to Assistant HR Manager." The room erupted with applause. Even Nicole clapped reluctantly. Martin leaned over and exclaimed, "Wow, so Peace brings promotion to Melissa." Laughed. "Apparently, yes. God is now my brand manager." That evening she called her mother. "Mommy, I got promoted." Her mother screamed, "Ah, my daughter has repented from show-off and entered glory." Melissa laughed. "Mommy, please." Her mother continued, "Can you see? You don't need to impress anyone to shine. Just be yourself and let God do the packaging for you." Melissa smiled. "You were right. Mommy, this Peace thing is better than any designer bag." Months passed and Melissa continued growing quietly. She paid off her loan app debts, stopped borrowing clothes, and started saving. Her Instagram became peaceful, too. There were no more fake motivational captions, just simple posts of sunsets, books, and cooking experiments that sometimes went wrong. One Sunday afternoon, she was sitting at home when Martin called. "Hey, Melissa, are you free?" Melissa smiled. "Yes. Why? I want to take you out for ice cream. But please don't dress as if you are attending the United Nations Summit." Melissa laughed. "Don't worry. This new me now wears slippers and jeans." "Good," Martin replied. "That's my favorite combination." They met at a small cafe laughing and sharing stories of their past disasters. When they finished eating, Martin looked at her seriously and said, "You know, Melissa, I liked you even when you were loud and dramatic. But this new version, this peaceful, funny, grounded Melissa, I love her more." Melissa blushed. "Be careful, Martin, or I'll start calling you Pastor Love." Martin grinned. "You can call me anything as long as we can start rehearsing the testimony." They both laughed, and for the first time in her adult life, Melissa felt something pure without the need to impress. That night, when she got home, she opened her old notes app filled with captions she once used for Instagram. She deleted everything and then typed a new one that read, "The real soft life is not the one you post. It is the one that lets you sleep in peace and wake up without pretending." She smiled, dropped her phone, turned off the lights, and slept peacefully. And that was how Madam Pet Perm officially transformed into Madam Peace of Mind, proving that sometimes rock bottom isn't punishment. It is a ground where you finally build a better life. The transformation wasn't instant or magical. It was gradual, painful, and full of moments where she wanted to go back to her old ways. But every time she felt that pull, she remembered the peace she had found. The peace that didn't require approval from strangers online. The peace that didn't depend on borrowed bags or expensive perfumes. The peace that came from knowing who she was, flaws and all, and being okay with it. Her relationship with Patricia improved dramatically. They became real friends, not just roommates who tolerated each other. Patricia saw the change and respected it. She even apologized for some of the harsh things she had said during Melissa's worst moments. "I was just tired of watching you hurt yourself," Patricia explained one evening as they sat together watching a movie. Melissa nodded. I know. I was tired of hurting myself too. I just didn't know how to stop. They hugged, and it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. A friendship built on honesty and mutual respect, not pretense and competition. At Wake, her promotion came with new responsibilities, but also new opportunities. She handled them with grace and humility, qualities she never knew she possessed. Her boss noticed and began trusting her with more important tasks. Even Nicole eventually warmed up to her, and they formed an unlikely friendship based on professional respect. Martin and Melissa's relationship continued to blossom slowly and naturally. There was no pressure, no rush, just two people enjoying each other's company and building something real. He introduced her to more community service activities, and she discovered a passion for helping others that she never knew existed. It filled a void in her life that shopping and social media never could. Her mother was the happiest of all. During one of their phone calls, Mama Melissa said with tears in her voice, "My daughter, I am so proud of you. Not because of your promotion or because you are dating a good man, but because you finally found yourself. That is the greatest achievement of all." Melissa cried too, grateful for a mother who never gave up on her even when she had given up on herself. As she reflected on her journey, Melissa realized that her story wasn't unique. Many young people were trapped in the same cycle she had been in, trying to maintain an image that didn't match their reality. She wished she could tell them what she had learned. That true success isn't about what you show the world, but about what you feel when you're alone with yourself. That peace is more valuable than any material possession. That authenticity beat pretense every single time. One Saturday morning, 6 months after her transformation, Melissa woke up feeling different. She looked around her room, now simpler and more organized, and smiled. The wigs were gone, replaced by hair care products for her natural hair. The borrowed clothes had been returned, and her wardrobe now contained pieces she actually owned and could afford. Her phone, no longer a tool for validation, sat quietly on the table. She picked it up and scrolled through her old posts, laughing at some of the captions. Unbothered queen energy while her landlord was waiting for rent. Soft life is my birthright while eating plain rice without meat. The irony was almost poetic. But instead of feeling embarrassed, she felt grateful. Those experiences had taught her lessons that no amount of money could buy. She had learned that suffering wasn't the end of the world, that humility was a strength, not a weakness, and that real confidence came from within, not from external validation. Martin had become an integral part of her new life. They spent their weekend volunteering together, cooking simple meals, and having deep conversations about life, faith, and the future. He never tried to change her or fix her. He simply walked beside her, offering support when she needed it and space when she didn't. One evening, as they sat on her balcony watching the sunset, he asked, "Do you ever miss your old life?" Melissa thought about it for a moment. "Sometimes I miss the excitement," she admitted. "But then I remember the anxiety, the stress, the constant need to prove something to people who didn't even care. And I realize I don't miss it at all. This life, this quiet, simple, peaceful life, is everything I needed but didn't know I wanted." Martin squeezed her hand. "I'm glad you found it." She squeezed back. "Me too." Their relationship was built on friendship first, and that made all the difference. There was no performance, no pretense, just two people being themselves and enjoying the journey together. Patricia had also undergone her own transformation. Watching Melissa change had inspired her to examine her own life and make some adjustments. She started being more intentional about her finances, set clearer boundaries, and focus on her own goals instead of getting caught up in other people's drama. The two of them became accountability partners, encouraging each other to stay true to their values even when it was difficult. They would have weekly check-ins where they discussed their progress, challenges, and victories. It wasn't always easy, but having someone who understood the struggle made it bearable. One evening, Patricia said to Melissa, "You know, your transformation saved both of us. I was heading down the same path without realizing it. Thank you for showing me a different way." Melissa hugged her. "We saved each other. I couldn't have done this without your honesty, even when it hurt." They both cried and laughed, grateful for a friendship that had survived the storm and come out stronger. At work, Melissa's influence began to spread beyond her immediate circle. Younger colleagues would come to her for advice, and she would share her story honestly, holding nothing back. She'd talk about the loan apps, the embarrassing moments, the fake lifestyle, all of it. Some people were shocked, others were inspired, but everyone respected her vulnerability. She started a small mentorship program at the office, focusing on financial literacy and mental health. The response was overwhelming. Many people were struggling with the same issues she had faced but felt too ashamed to talk about it. By creating a safe space for these conversations, Melissa helped break the cycle for others. Her boss was so impressed that he gave her additional resources to expand the program. Nicole, her former antagonist, even joined as a co-facilitator. "I judged you so harshly," Nicole confessed during one of their planning meetings. "But you were just doing what we all do, trying to survive in a system that values appearance over substance. I'm sorry." Melissa accepted her apology graciously. "We were both products of the same toxic culture. Let's focus on changing it." As the year came to an end, Melissa reflected on everything that had happened. She had gone from Madam Pepper to Madam Peace of Mind, from broken to whole and fulfilled. Her bank account was healthier, but more importantly, so was her mind and spirit. She had learned that true wealth wasn't measured in naira or material possessions, but in peace, purpose, and genuine relationships. On New Year's Eve, as she sat with Martin, Patricia, and a few close friends, she raised a glass and said, "To new beginnings, to authenticity, to peace that surpasses all understanding. May we never sacrifice our sanity for society's approval." They all clinked glasses and cheered. As the clock struck midnight and fireworks lit up the Lagos sky, Melissa closed her eyes and said a prayer of gratitude. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, she wasn't afraid. She had found herself, her purpose, and her peace. Everything else was just details. And so, Madam Pepper's story came full circle, not with a dramatic ending, but with a peaceful beginning. A reminder that sometimes the best transformation is the one nobody sees on social media. The one that happens quietly, deeply, and permanently in the heart. The one that turns a loud, desperate cry for validation into a confident, peaceful whisper of self-acceptance. This is Melissa's story, but it could be anyone's story. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to be seen, loved, and accepted. And the beautiful truth is, it all starts with seeing, loving, and accepting ourselves first.